Well, I don't know really what this means, but I did some painted comics that were very complicated. Storytelling becomes very laboured and slow. It would be better, I still think it is better, to simplify the images so that the storytelling becomes very light and cuts to the point of how people move and speak in a very simple way. Do you think that that's redundant or not? I have no idea. Okay, for one, I'm not an artist. I don't claim to be an artist. Secondly, I don't have any answers. As many questions as everybody else. All I can do in my work is try and put those questions on paper and try for myself to figure out an answer that will keep me going to a degree, but they're not big answers. I think it's true at the moment that the people who claim to be artists, and I would be suspicious of people who go around introducing themselves as artists, seem very reticent to answer questions about what they do. Because I think many are lost in the chaos of the time that we're living. But I think a lot of scientists at the moment love to answer questions and love to communicate the things that they know and have found. So I think the great art at the moment can be found in science. For one, you will have to define what an artist is. I think the term artist is qualitative. I'm a number of things, and that they're factual. I'm a painter, I'm a photographer, I make films occasionally, I make comics occasionally, comic book illustrator. Those are just descriptions, accurate descriptions of what I do. But I wouldn't presume to call myself an artist. That, for me, that feels like going around saying, hello, I'm a genius. Any of these things, there has to be a degree of obsession there. It has to be all-consuming. I like Chuck Close's comment about inspiration and art. Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and do the work, and that's where the level of obsession comes in. It's doing the work every day, every day. I think that the time that we're living now, where media has moved from the analog to the digital, feels like the era 100 years ago when film was being created for the first time, when the language of film was being created for the first time. We have a whole array of new tools and new ways of telling stories, and that it must have felt like that 100 years ago to Murnau and Dreyer and Fritz Lang, with this new toolbox, this new medium that is not theatre and not a novel. It's a whole new thing. You watch their films and you can see them creating the language as they go. And some of it works and some of it doesn't work, but they're creating the language. So you're starting to see that now with some digital films that are not about spaceships and dinosaurs, but are about trying to show how we feel and what our inner lives are, and express that through digital images. And the obvious difficulties, I have to communicate what I'm thinking to all these people, and they have to understand me. It's very hard to just be able to try things in a very improvisational way, and if they're no good, just throw them away, because that's very expensive. You know, I have to pay all these people. I don't really get to play and have fun in the same way as I can on my own. There's a lot of enjoyment to have with the process of filmmaking, but it's about making the most of collaboration. You become more of a catalyst. You wind up the crew, and you wind up the set like little puppets or toys, or you fill them with potential. Then you watch what they do and then respond to what they do. So it's a conversation. You do, and it can go either way. You can lose control and it falls away from what you want it to be, and the chaos just blows you over, or you can become an element in that chaos, and you can try and make the most of the things that get away from you. They become surprises, they become challenges, they become things, you have to look at them in a positive way. There's a great film by Lars von Trier, 5 Obstructions. It's a conversation between him, Lars von Trier, and Jorgen Seth. And Jorgen Seth has to keep on remaking the same film again and again. Lars von Trier keeps on putting obstructions and problems and challenges in his way. And the great thing is, every challenge, every time Jorgen Seth initially goes, oh, this is terrible, but then they become blessings. He rises to the challenge. The films become better and better because he's challenged all the time. He has to keep rethinking all the time. That is a lesson in how to deal with filmmaking. I think a general audience don't really, everybody, the real people, don't think about things like that. They look at an image and either it tickles their imagination. The technique is irrelevant, really. It's whether the image touches them or not. They mostly had to act with invisible things. There was very little visible there. And what I learnt was that some actors, it's a trick. Some actors can do it and some actors struggle doing it. Some people can tell a joke, and some people can't tell a joke. It's innate. It's in us. Now, my young actress Stephanie Leonidas, who was in the film, could do it and got it on day one, and immediately she was surrounded by all the little creatures, and she would look up and she would see the world and the buildings, and she would see the cops, the beetle cops arresting her, and she would see the monkey birds, and she would see everything. And she could put her imagination out there in the world and talk to them as if they were really there. Whereas Rob Brydon, another actor in the film, a fantastic comedy actor, couldn't. And he really struggled. And every time I tried to explain where we were, he had a hard time dealing with it. What helped was I storyboarded everything, so I could always point to the storyboard and say, that's you, that's who you're talking to, that's this huge set, cathedral, everything that you're standing next to. And then I would get down to the right eye level and I would do my best monkey bird impersonation to try and get them into the swing of it, and we'd get through it that way. But fortunately, Stephanie was wonderful and she could do it. One of my heroes is Georges Méliès, who used a single studio and flats and puppeteered flat things to create these extraordinary worlds. And he, at a time when nobody had seen anything like that on film, had to explain to his actors and dancers that they were all on the moon and they were all doing these extraordinary things. So, it's all been done before. And, Méliès, for example, was wonderful.